Thank you very much, Chris. And no one in the Senate has spent so much time and effort to be fully educated about the dynamics in Gaza, the West Bank, in Israel, in Jordan, in Egypt. So thank you so much for your leadership. I want to emphasize that this strategy of ethnic cleansing in Gaza has these two main components. One component is to destroy homes so that they cannot be returned to. Despite having seen the city reduced to rubble through satellite photos, to climb an outside staircase, fire escape to the top of a 3-story building, stand on a ledge, look over, and see this city reduced to rubble, that was extraordinarily powerful to just bear witness to that strategy that's being implemented. Not long ago, as Chris said, 1 million people were here, many of them refugees from other parts of Gaza. That second strategy deprived Palestinians of essentials to live: food, water, medicine. And the piece of this that receives the most attention is the food factor. And Chris has described obstacles about getting food into Gaza. But even after you get it into Gaza, getting it to the people most in need is extremely challenging. If you think about what we were told in our first trip by international organizations, they said, look, if food gets to a certain low level where families are starving, groups will start to raid the trucks before they get to the warehouses. They'll break into the warehouses and raid those. Then they'll start raiding the trucks en route to the warehouse, because that's what you see everywhere in the world when people are starving. Well, that's exactly what we see in Gaza. But now think about the fact that those who are in most trouble in terms of nutrition are those who are the weakest, and that is the children, that is the disabled, that is the seniors, that is the mothers who are pregnant, the mothers who have recently given birth. But to get food to those populations, you have to be able to have an organized system through the warehouses. There is a special supplement for starving children. In much of the world, it goes by the brand name Plumpy Nut. But other companies produce it and call it things like nutritional supplement. A truck full of nutritional supplement, if it is raided en route to a warehouse, that nutritional supplement doesn't get to the children who need it. So what we learned from the international groups is they said the way that you solve this is you flood Gaza with food. And we saw this happen during the ceasefire. We had suddenly 600 trucks a day moving food into Gaza. And when people knew that they were going to be able to access food, they didn't need to raid the trucks. And then you were able to start reestablishing the supply of food to those who need it most. So under this strategy in which food is deliberately restricted by the Netanyahu government, we're going to continue to see children, women, elderly, disabled, starving. And this is the heart of the famine that is there right now. The second thing I want to emphasize is we have a few chapters in the course of this year. We have the chapter of the ceasefire from January 19th to early March, March 1st. Then we have this full blockade from March 2nd through May 19 that produced a hugely accentuated level of starvation. And then we have the third chapter in which Israel, in response to the world, said, yes, we're getting food in, and we have this great system, this Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, GHF strategy. And as Chris described, that strategy was to open 4 sites, not the hundreds of sites that existed through the United Nations distribution system, but 4 sites. Think about that. 4 sites to cover 2 million people, with 3 of the 4 deliberately located just in one corner in the south. The goal of that was, hey, if you're in Gaza City, somewhere to the north, the only place we're going to get food to you is if you go to the south. This is part of that strategy of displacement. That strategy has not worked well. According to a report by a humanitarian group, they recorded 1,373 people killed from May 22nd to July 31st. The bulk of those happening in the vicinity of those 4 distribution sites. Another group called this not aid, but orchestrated killing. Who would ever come up with an idea to replace hundreds of sites where people can access it to 4 sites in the south? Think about whether or not a mother who is already malnourished is going to be able to walk miles to one of those sites, maybe carrying a child, and somehow lift a 40-pound box and make it miles home. I mean, clearly this was a strategy that was not meeting the moment in any possible way, but a continuation of a strategy of food deprivation. Ethnic cleansing through destroying homes, ethnic cleansing through deprivation of food, water, and medicine. And now we have Gaza City. Gaza City is en route to looking like this. Rubble. Just as there were 1 million people gathered in Rafah, the regular population plus folks who had fled from elsewhere in Gaza, and now it's rubble. There are 1 million people in Gaza City, and in a few months it may look like this. What does that mean if we look down the lane? Well, it means 2 million people clustered in tents, without a food distribution system, without a clean water system, without a sanitary system, without a power system, without a communication system, without a roof over their head, with the goal of pushing people out of Gaza. And the United States is engaged in conversations to help find places where people might be shipped to. The United States has to quit being complicit in this ethnic cleansing, has to quit being complicit in this war crime.